this is in response to a couple of things. We do give you a regular growth update about every 6 months, just letting you know what is going on around the region and what initiatives there are. It's also in direct response to, and it's a shame, looks like Councillor Downard has left us, around Councillor Downard's questions at the last committee meeting around just having a better handle on what growth activities are happening in your respective districts, as well as there's so much growth regional development happening at a national level. What does this mean for the Waikato? So we've got Miffy here who's going to take you through it, and obviously we haven't got all the detail of every single proposal. We've identified if there are ones that are of particular interest to you, we can circulate that. So over to you, Miffy.
Kia ora tātou. Lizette's actually going to start because she's actually helped with this report.
Thank you. So you may notice that the growth management report looks a little bit different to usual because we've added a bit more contextual information since there have been so many processes happening simultaneously. And those current processes are summed up in another colourful diagram to show their interrelationships. But the diagram by all means doesn't show everything, such as the legislative change or regional planning that we've been talking about. Otherwise, it would be quite a spaghetti bowl. The intention is to show that the processes are all interrelated and that we're connecting between them. And we've got people involved in each of them and connected to one another so that the same messages and coherence is hopefully being delivered. And you might have noticed that the regional spatial strategy is a little less colourful than the other processes in the diagram. That is because obviously it doesn't exist yet, but we're working hard towards it and we're making sure that it's integrated with the other processes that are occurring as well. Later this month, as was mentioned earlier in this committee, councillors will have a workshop on the foundational inventory for that spatial strategy, and the overall strategy will be an integral overarching guide for all the processes we're involved in. We're very positive to hear that the government's intent for spatial strategies to take that guiding role under the proposed new legislation, and also that combined plans for each region will bring together the regional and district planning. And that's been covered obviously in our resource management reform thinking. And meanwhile, the growth councils in our region have continued with their intensification plan changes and other growth planning, which is mentioned further on in the report. I'm not sure if, Miffy, did you want to say a bit more on those?
We're going to keep it brief, but I just wanted to point out that a major change is the Fast Track Approvals Act. So that has taken the decision making away from local authorities for a wider range of projects. We have had a fast track approval process through various legislation since the first COVID one, but it was more tailored to specific projects. It now has a wider scope, so that decision making has moved from sitting with local authorities, but we are collaborating where necessary, particularly through the Future Proof with those ones where there are the development on the fringe of Hamilton, and they will have a greater impact on infrastructure and other things. So we are working with those developers to ensure that we get consent conditions and infrastructure solutions that work for us as well as the developers. We did highlight specifically the ones in the Future Proof region, but there are obviously a number of them across the region and at various points in the process, with only one actually having submitted a substantive application at this stage, which our resource use people are working with the EPA on. But we will open it up for questions and comments and discussion, then we can focus on what the parts that you want to discuss.
Thank you for that. Ben.
I may have missed it, but I don't recall seeing the regional deals, a copy of what went to the government from Waikato. Have we had it circulated?
Can we use the mic, Ben?
Checking to see if the final one was distributed. It was meant to be, but if councillors do not have that, we'll make sure that that gets distributed.
Well, I just read that the Karakia district had discussed it in their meeting, and I don't recall reading it in detail. So, yeah.
For you, Mr. Chair, we can get that out to you. I would be surprised if it wasn't circulated, but it was such a a blur, we're more than happy to circulate it. I know you did have the letter of intent, the proposal. I'm pretty sure we circulated it. We definitely had a couple of briefings, but we can send that out, not a worry. Actually, I won't send it out. I will give it to Tash to put on your Dropbox because it's 15 meg and I don't want to clog up your inbox. We also have a summary document, which is 3 meg. I can send that out as well.
And when will the decisions be made on that regional deals?
Over to me. So we had a briefing with DIA last week or the week before, Pamela. It's probable that it will be in May, and contact will be made with Pamela and Mayor Adams as chair of the Waikato Mayoral Forum. The government will give an indication of those who were successful for either tranche 1, which is this year, and tranche 2, which is next year. We still don't actually know what a deal is. It might be just to enter into a memorandum of understanding. It might be something more substantive. So it's looking like May at this stage, with a view to having something signed by the end of the year.
No, yeah.
Just on that, I heard Minister Brown, as Minister of Auckland, talking about the regional deal and that he was going to get one for Auckland. And on that basis, I really turned off because I understood there was only one this year and one next year. So if he's, as local government minister, there he was, and Minister for Auckland, if he's pushing for Auckland, to the rest of us, waste our time. I suppose it's a question you can't answer, but listening to that sort of conversation on national radio, I thought, what's the point?
Kia ora. I suppose that, so my understanding is that there will be a first cab off the rank that we should be aware of. I was thinking it was July was when they were looking to make that final or that first announcement. And that there are there's a number 2 and a number 3 that either will be announced at that same time or will be announced in 2026. So place your bets where we think things might go. But in terms of whether or not this was a waste of time, from my perspective, what we have put together in our regional deal is an amalgamation of all of the planning work that has been going on throughout this region for many years. It is planning that has been through consultation processes. It has been put in front of our various communities and has collective input and support. And I don't think that it's ever a waste of time for this region to work collectively and collaboratively on our planning purposes. And so I think that what this did present is an opportunity for us to have those joined up conversations, get that united support across the region. And I think that that's a positive way forward, whether or not we are 1, 2, or 3.
Thank you for the election speech. The issue for me is that I was cynical when I was making that comment. The issue is many regions chose not to make a deal application, and Waikato is to certainly be congratulated. I just was concerned and cynical when the Minister for Auckland says he was going to get the deal for Auckland, and it's really flies in the face of objectivity and the likes. So yeah, that was my point. Thank you.
Angela.
Yep, I'll try and follow those those 2 previous speakers. Yeah, thank you so much for the paper. I really appreciate these kind of papers where it pulls everything together into a really cohesive way. So thank you. Yeah, sort of to follow on from Councillor Smith's points about us submitting a deal. I was really interested in hearing about the UNISA super region, Golden Triangle concept of us, being quite a powerhouse of population, economy, everything. Yeah, that if Minister Brown wants to, put Auckland forward, then the rest of the Golden Triangle needs to also go with it as well. So you're really pleasing with that. also about how we're working proactively with developers, before these consents and applications come through. Yeah, so well done, being proactive and trying to front foot any issues so that, we're all aligned moving forward. Yeah, so thank you. Not really any questions in there, but happy to move this paper as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Any other questions? Yeah, sorry, comment from Tracy.
Just a comment to follow on from what Councillor Strange has identified. Once we know with the regional deal whether we are favoured or unfavoured or however that approaches, we will be developing comms messages because it's really important for us if we are in tranche 1 or tranche 2. So it will be developing those and having discussions with our TA colleagues, because very important, we're not leading this, but the regional council is facilitating on behalf of. And if we are unsuccessful, then that super important message of supporting Auckland, supporting Northern, supporting the Bay of Plenty, supporting Taranaki or Hawke's Bay is really important for us. So we are seen as a constructive partner with council. So we'll be covering all those bases.
Yeah, thanks. If I can just follow on from that. Thank you, Tracy. And I guess as well with our work on the regional spatial plan, then the work that has been already done with the regional deal goes some ways towards that work as well. So
yeah, it's that through you, Mr. Chair, that work is intended to be a foundational component of the spatial strategy work. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Not
Sorry, that is conversation that the Future Proof Partnership is having quite at length. We had a presentation on Southern Links just on Friday with all the partners around the table, and there are many questions that we need to get to the bottom of in order to ensure successful application of Southern Links. The funding of them is definitely one of those. All partners have asked each other how we will contribute funding at all stages of it. Yeah. It is being worked through at the moment, Councillor Hughes.
That's Councillor Hughes seconds. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. That brings us to the final report of the session on page 139, and that's our standard submission summary report.
Kia ora koutou. I'll do just a very brief mention of 3 things to get your attention on, and that's the 3 attachments for this regular report. In page 141 of your agenda pack, you'll find the spatial map of local planning processes. So this is the regular planning processes for each district council within the region. A table with district planning processes by territorial authority, proposals from national government, and anticipated items for consultation from national government in pages 142 to 156, and a new table and map different from the previous reports, which is in pages 157 and 159 of your agenda, a table with the fast track and the relevant legislation. So this has fast track processes under the Natural Built Environment Act that is now repealed, but there's fast track processes that are being accepted under the legislation on the Fast Track Approvals Act, noting that the Fast Track Approval Act authorizes listed projects and people to come for referral from the 7th of February this year. And in page 160, a map divided by TA showing you the spatial distribution of those fast track processes that we have. For those ones, Mifi is with me today to help me with any questions about those specific fast track processes. I'm happy to take questions to you. Mr. Chair.
Yes, so thank you to staff for including all that. It is really, really helpful for us to work our way through, see what's relative to various councillors and that sort of thing in their regions. So questions first up, Angela.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, thanks for the report. I was just interested in the solar farms, and I've had concerns from some constituents about them going onto highly productive land. Can you just talk me through where we're at with thinking on that? On one hand, we need renewables. On the other hand, highly productive land needs to be protected as well. Yeah, where are we at with that?
I can give it a first go, at least from the highly productive land angle of the question. So according to the piece of national direction, the way we read it, solar panel proposal or solar electricity generation proposal would not necessarily preclude productive uses. So it's still case by case basis. However, in the sense of the fast track approvals, there's two things that we look at, and is that we're not the ultimate decision maker. It is a piece of national direction that manages the land uses around that. So that isn't in the generic terms of our interpretation of the highly productive land national policy statement. But I'll leave it to Miffy if there's anything to add from the future-proof side of coordination of response.
So I guess it's a balancing act, as Ali said, it's a case-by-case assessment. So we obviously are supportive of more renewable energy proposals, but we also have that balance of protecting the highly productive land. So in terms of the solar farms, it's a little bit of a different situation to, say, housing, because having a solar farm is not going to preclude it being used for agricultural uses concurrently, but also in the future. You can take a solar farm away and the land is still there, it's still productive, whereas if you put houses on it, that is lost. So those are, so we will flag the highly productive land to the panel that is the decision maker, but also highlight that we are supportive of the renewable energy as well. So balance out those two perspectives.
And I guess to follow up as well, some of the concern was that, could we not put solar on, all the warehouses within the urban environment before we go out to more rural? But I suppose the market will decide, as people say. So thank you for those answers.
Thank you, Angela. Robbie.
Yeah, just to carry on from that question that Angela's brought up. Once you change, it depends where legislation sits in the future, but that could be that land is dormant from then on because it's not actively able to go into full production in the future. If you go back to what the last government had done with the freshwater policy, that you couldn't upgrade. So we've got to be very careful about solar farms and other uses like that no matter what, that land will never become usable for high, intensive production in the future. So and it's all on dead flat class 5 soil. So then you can't take it out, pull the solar farms out and put in highly used vegetable growing, because in that state, the use would be way higher than what the nutrient loss would be with just running sheep under the solar farm. So I think there needs to be some very serious thoughts about what will happen to solar farms once they come out of, because I think they've only got a 35-year use span, and after that, they're pretty much got to be pulled down. Or might you? Pardon?
Panel replacement.
Well,
yeah,
I think I don't want to say the wrong thing, but there's making an assumption that intensive dairy farming with dairy cows is or vegetables. Yeah, you said both, I think. Yeah. So it's going to be a dominant land use in 35, 50 years' time. We don't really know. I get your point with vegetables, but of course, it also got to remember it doesn't preclude a solar farm replacing some livestock grazing on a less steeper country. And I'm just, you don't have to look at me like that. I'm just pointing out some options.
I understand what you're
saying. Robbie, let's shoot finish.
Yeah,
and then,
but I didn't even get to finish mine.
Oh, sorry, I'll stop and you can finish, Robbie.
Because in that, we just about had to change the rules for goat farms. So Chris was going to have to go on the individual basis because their land value was going to drop, that they weren't going to be able to sell their properties because they'd gone from one farm use to another. And yet the only way they were going to sell them was to sell them back to dairy farms. So I think that's the bit that I'm talking about. That once that land use is there, the chances of it, if legislation happens, you won't be allowed to use it for anything else. It will be shut down. That's the bit I'm getting at. It's not about if it's dairy or not. It's just flat ball taken out of the system. So that's the bit I was trying to make the point of.
And councillors, I just want to help you out. What Robbie's talking about is Ministry for the Environment were looking to put something in the farm regs that actually precluded people who were goat and sheep dairy farmers and would have sterilised the further use of their land. So we assisted MFE to understand around future uses and changed use. So it was something we helped them with last year, wasn't it?
And then the freshwater policy was revoked and that didn't stand anymore. But yeah.
Any other questions for the team on any of this? Thank you very much. I'll move that the report be received. Seconded. Thank you, Pamela. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end. I guess Mr. Metz is going to close us with the Karakia. Ms. May is going to close us with the Karakia.
Councillors, just before we close, I've sent you an email that has the cabinet paper, a PDF of the presentation and the summary of the regional deal. So it's all there. Apologies, it's 9 meg, and we'll get Tash to put the entire regional deal proposal, the comprehensive one, on your website. So thank you, councillors. I'll close us with Karakia. Unuhia mai te uru tapanui. Kia wātea, kia mama, te ngākau, te tirana, te ngaro, i te ara takatū. Koe rā a rongo, e whakaria ake ki runga, kia tīna, haumi e hui e tā ki.
Thank you, Tracy. That's meeting closed at 11:50. There will be a test on that paper next week. Please make sure you read it, all of it.
And Jordan.